Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, folks. Michael Zuber, Win Rental at a Time, back with two friends. We call ourselves the Three Amigos. We are here to help you. How you doing, Dion?
Howdy, doing great. Ready for surprise number 4 video because we actually don't know the topic yet.
Yeah, there you go. And Matt, how are you?
Emotionally and as mentally prepared as I can be.
So I did a lot of reading about the Fed yesterday, right? Their big announcement. I read their statements, I listened, and then I read like 12 summaries, right? It was probably 2 hours of my life trying to, because again, with the Fed, you don't really, it's kind of an art, right? What they say, how different pieces tie together, it's kind of like playing 3D chess with the Fed. So I have now come to believe that the Fed is going to be, at least in the short term, more aggressive than people think. Good news is I called that early. Number two, they're going to start selling assets earlier than even I expected, which I think is a net negative, which is going to take rates higher. And ultimately, I think the stock market is going to continue its crash, a la the 73, 74 bear market. I think, unfortunately, we're going to have 401ks become 201ks. We are going to have retirees who thought their portfolio was enough, and it's not. We're going to have some real estate markets that were hot that are not. And thus, I now unfortunately believe that the unemployment rate will be in excess of 4.5% by the end of the year. And I don't know that I would have said that a month ago. And there's a part of me that wants to say 5%, but I don't want to really freak people out. Because again, the unemployment rate, if you believe, well, it's 3.9%. So I'm just going to say it right now. I think there's a good chance the unemployment rate's 5% by the end of the year, which means consumers are scared, they're saving. It's going to be a bad year. So Matt, I'll go to you first. What do you think about it? Tell me I'm wrong.
Dion, he didn't tell us, but he's making a crisis crash video.
No, I'm not. This is not a crash video. At least not a real estate crash video.
No, I mean, I think, hey, listen, I mean, I thought that's exactly what was going to happen with the Fed, because that's why I called for over 4 interest rates by the time July 1 came around. Yeah. The only way that would happen is if they taper and if they start raising rates aggressively. And I think we get one in March. I think we get one in May. And then I think they're talking in June about the next one. So I think that you better make some investments in Dramamine, because it's about to get pukey. Like, that's just the way it's going to go. And so I think at the end of the day, the one thing that we're just trying to keep in mind is that we recognize that there's ebbs and flows to every market. The stock market, it's a lot easier to ebb and flow there, right? You can be worth half the next day. Mm-hmm. But I think that, when it comes to how it applies to the real estate market, I think that you need to look at that return on capital. And I think that, as always, if investments keep you up at night, if this getting into housing keeps you up at night, then you need to look for something even safer. I don't know what there is. But yeah, I think largely speaking, it's going to be a rough year. I think it's going to feel a lot like I really remember what September, October, November, December, January, February, and March felt like 08 to 09. I remember what that felt like. Yeah. And I think it's going to feel a lot like that, minus people losing their homes. Yeah. I think it's going to feel a lot more like that from a market perspective. Mm-hmm. When Mark Haynes on CNBC had the Haynes bottom, and that was like 66.56 or whatever it was. I think
it was 666, I think, or whatever it was.
Yeah, exactly. It was like right around there, right? And that was off of 20,000.
Yes,
I think some massive number. I can't recall exactly, but I think that the market is largely in for a lot of that stuff. Because I always would tell people, I said, when you look at my house will never be worth 19 times earnings.
No.
Or 100 times earnings.
Yeah. Or because a gazillion, because you have no earnings.
Or 1,000 times earnings. Right. Houses don't do that. And so because of that, for me, that's the asset that I've picked. That's what I feel good about. And I do think, I think this year is going to get a little bit gross. I mean, I talk to people that are working on car lots that have told me, we usually have 250 cars. And they said, right now we have 20 new cars and we have 150 used cars. And they're like, we prefer selling used cars because the margin's a whole lot better. I talked to 2 builders this morning, and both builders said to me They didn't refer to them as dead days, which I thought was kind of interesting because I called them dead days, and I was surprised the builders didn't. He said, one of them said, the typical start to finish for me on a house is 120 days. He said, I have 3 projects going on right now, then I am rounding the corner on 280.
Wow.
And he's like, I have no idea. I have no idea if I'm going to actually make any money on this property. No idea. He's like, these projects, no idea. And then the other person said exactly the same thing. I think they were a little bit slower of a builder because they were more custom building. Mm-hmm. He was 6 months, and he said, I'm easily going to be, he's like, I'm past my 6 months. There's no way I'm not done in a year. Mm-hmm. He's like, he said, how am I supposed to account for that? He's like, the guys that work for me, how are they supposed to account for that? So yeah, I think that problem gets continuously exacerbated in what we're about to go into personally.
Oh, joy. So, how about you, Dan? What do you think?
So the surprise negative in 2022 is that unemployment will be going up.
Correct.
Okay. I agree. But I don't know that it's tied to anything that that our other videos today have been about. About rates and those kind of things. I think it's the physical, like the physics of the chronology of extra unemployment, extended unemployment, and now that's ended. So we had a period of time where you couldn't do any foreclosures, mm-hmm. right? So then that ends and everybody goes, foreclosures are up 86%.
Yeah.
But they're at, I think it was 60% of what we would have in a normal year, right? Yeah. So unemployment right now, I think, is artificially low because we had people who had extra and then extended unemployment. And most employers, even Chick-fil-A, said entry-level position, $18 an hour to get people to come in when they were combating high unemployment and extended unemployment that doesn't exist now. Mm-hmm. The extra and the extended is gone. So right now, they drew people in, but it's kind of become normal to walk into a business and see a sign that says, due to supply chain issues, this is the delay in you getting your project. This is why your construction build is going to take, extra 100 days. Or you walk into a restaurant, due to low staffing, your service is going to take possibly longer. Please be patient with us. It's going to be expected where businesses don't expect to grow. They don't expect to have the Peloton explosive growth because of something that happened with the pandemic. We're going to see businesses that just sit back and say, we have to maintain. If we can do that, we're winning. We're not trying to grow. And maintaining doesn't mean hiring new people at really high wages to pull them off of unemployment. So I think that because of the physics of that extra, and not so much the stimulus, but the child credit and the unemployment and the extended unemployment, in the next few months, we're going to see more people actively looking for work that isn't there.
Yeah. I think there's that. I think there's really a couple of things that are coming together. That's absolutely that. I think there's obviously some people that have made money in the stock market in crypto. They were trading and thus realizing gains. There were people making 6 figures a year that started with their stimmy checks. I wouldn't blame them for not working, right? If you want to day trade and you're making a living, stay at home. Bear markets eat those people alive, and they're going to have to go back to work. Most importantly, people my age and above, a lot of them had their 401ks and their portfolios really do quite well the last 2 years. A lot of them have seen their houses do really, really well. So a lot of them have decided to retire early, right? They retire 5 years early. Mm-hmm. Then their 401ks or whatever you call them get cut in half because they didn't reposition. They didn't readjust. Then their house is worth less. They're going to go back to work. And the big thing that's caused the 3.9% is what they call the participation rate. It is 2.1% below trend. I believe that reverses to trend. Unemployment goes up because you have to actively be looking to be considered unemployed. So again, back to the earlier joke, this being a crash video, I think real estate without question slows down, but I thought that anyway. I think we go from 920 active listings to 1.8 million. That's still below trend, but it's higher. Mm-hmm. So again, I think the stock market could be in for a 2-year bear market, a la the 73, 74, which is 45% drop, peak to bottom or trough. Real estate, even if it did flat, it is doing okay. because again, we have real loans, we have low rates. It's just, yeah. So this is not a real estate crash for sure. But I do think unemployment could be 4.8 to 5% by the end of the year. Nobody's calling that. Nobody, but I think it's going to happen. So I just want to get that off my chest. Thank you guys for listening. Dion, where can people find you?
Right here on YouTube. And this is also the thing that I think that's going to impact real estate, that it doesn't drop like it did in 2009 and 2010, is previously people were trying to figure out how to get into real estate. For the last 10 years straight, YouTube University has grown, and content providers are talking about one rental at a time, how buy and hold investors actually made more money in 2009 and 2010 because rents went up even though prices were dropping. So I think we're going to see more investors looking at long-term buy and hold, which will prop up even a flat market and stop it from going down. But you can find me right here on Dion Talk, Financial Freedom.
Very cool. And Matt?
Lumberjack Planner on YouTube, and tonight, Mr. and Mrs. Lumberjack, if we can get these pipes going again.
Guys,
I like our chances.
Yeah, and if you like our content, do us all a favor, subscribe to our channels. We are voices in a sea of negativity out there. We are really trying to help. We bring you stuff every week, every day. So have a wonderful day. Take care. Check out the live streams. Bye-bye.
Ciao.